Women on a Green Mission. Follow along as two friends document their unfurling permaculture journeys.
Join our chat each week where we'll be sharing how we and others apply permaculture to our gardens and daily life.
We're no experts. We're at the start of our journey, fumbling our way to a greener life. We'd love your company along the way.
Hey.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I am really good. I'm so looking forward to getting out into the garden today. I feel like I need some garden therapy. I mean, I've even got my, I'd propagate that shirt on.
I love it. I've got my Practical Permaculture shirt on.
Oh, I love that. It's just so...
It's my Friday uniform. Like, I start work and I put it on, so my Fridays in the office I wear my permaculture shirt.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm really keen to get back out into the garden. We've had, a bit of rain and work's just been hectic, and we've had so much on. I don't know what it is. Every weekend we've just had external stuff on. Like, we're used to kind of having 3 or 4 weekends in a row where we're just at home and we're doing projects around here, which is the thing that really, like, that's my relaxation time. It's not so much for my poor husband. Like, he does about 2-3 weekends and he's like, okay, I need a break. I need to go and do something else, which I appreciate and I very much respect that. Yeah. So we make sure we plan that in. But it's the opposite at the moment. Like, we've just got like event after event after event. Like, I've had something on for the last 3 weekends. I've got something on coming up this weekend with my mum, which is actually I'm really excited about. I haven't gone and seen a show with my mum in years. So really, cool. I feel really good. She's been unwell and she's sort of starting to feel a bit better. So I'm really excited to be able to go and have the day with her. But I was like, been watching the weather and I'm like, you better not bloody rain on Friday. Like, just hot. I still would have been out there. I mean, I've got seedlings to put in that I haven't. I should have had them in already. Well, I did put cucumbers in and they were promptly removed. I don't know whether it was rats or birds, but they were kindly plucked out. So I've got a little bit more mature ones to go in now. I've still got to get my tomatoes in. I've got to mulch. I've got to weed. I've got to weed. I've got to weed. There's so much weed I've got to clean. Like, but I'm really.
We don't have weeds. We have that horrible buffalo grass creeping onto all of our beds.
Oh, it's hard to deal with, isn't it?
The long runners, and I'm digging it up, and I sheet mulched it first, and it's still not coming from under, but it's just creeping in through the sides, and I guess like birds shitting on it or whatever. I don't know what, but it's everywhere. It's all through our beds. So the weeds I don't mind so much, but the grass, far out.
I was going to say the only good thing about that is when you do sheet mulch, if you've got a really thick layer of like mulch or wood chip, something that's quite light and airy, it's at least easy to kind of pull those runners, like they come out without disturbing. Whereas when they get into the soil, I feel like they get in there and they just kind of go and just like hang on to everything. So you pull it and then the next thing, like, it's just you're pulling chunks of soil away and
so I don't know, and like we're just edging everything with sticks at the moment because it's like cheap and abundant, but it's kind of not the best thing because it still finds its way
edge.
through.
It looks pretty when you first do it. It looks really nice, and then all it takes is like that week or two of humid weather, and it just creeps in. Ours is the same.
Yeah. I'd love to edge it all with comfrey, but like I've got meters and meters and meters of beds. Like I don't have enough, so
it's and it's hard too because
it's tricky.
So I've just done that actually, just around one of my fenced garden areas. I've put comfrey sort of around half of it because the other half's banked by the chicken coop, and then we've got a little sort of flower bed. So I'm going to do that, to the same thing to stop the creep. But then once that's established, I'll have to actually get it out of the garden because it's still already in there. But the other thing that I thought of, because I was going to do comfrey edges in my other annuals garden that I'm setting up. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And then I thought about it and went, so comfrey sort of regenerates. Every time you disturb it, it sends up new plants. And I thought, well, if for my perennials or around my fruit trees, perfect. But I thought in my annuals bed, if I'm in there, like if I want to, grow carrots or I want to grow any sort of root crop, I'm going to be in there disturbing the soil even a little bit, and then I'm going to end up just with like masses of comfrey all through like my growing area. And I thought, no, that's not going to work. So yeah, kind of back to the drawing board on how do I, still utilize the comfrey, but also have maybe a hard edge without actually then losing growing space because I now need a wider walkway. I don't know, kind of redesign sort of version J at the moment.
Yeah, I think we'll use comfrey along like our hedge, like our big long hedges, because one side's natives and the other one's like a food hedge. So we've got like lemon verbena and fruit trees like citrus and olives and avocado and stuff like that mixed in with some like some other stuff. Like we've got leucadendrons to pick and understory plants and some like perennial herbs like rosemary and stuff like that. But I think all those I'd happily edge with comfrey. But I'm lucky, in inverted commas, air quotes, whatever you call them, that all of our annual beds are raised beds. So I don't need to worry about edging them, and we rarely get weeds because I plan it so densely. The weeds that do come up, I just pull it and lay them down and let them in situ compost before they go to seed. Like it's a pain to make the raised beds, but with the soil we have here, like we just need to do it in raised beds. And the dogs just trample the garden, so our perennial stuff can handle it and they kind of won't be as bad on there. But
your
all our annuals are in beds, so we're kind of lucky in that respect that we have that hard border and they're up off the ground a bit. So it's an issue though, isn't it?
Oh, it's just it's working out that what is that going to be used for and what is the best solution. I mean, we're still tossing up between, do we do the comfrey? Do we do a hard timber edge? And if we do a hard timber edge, what does that look like? Are we getting sleepers? If we're getting sleepers, are we getting hardwood sleepers? Because I don't want treated sleepers, but then the cost of hardwood sleepers, considering how many beds we actually want to put in there. And then we go, well, screw it. Do we then just do treated timber and then we're not growing that for 12 months and we just plant, a heap of sunflowers and all sorts of, plants that are potentially going to be, drawing toxins out of the soil for that period of time? Or do we then line the timber? Like, there's a lot of things to consider. I mean, and we even then had the conversation of, well, if we don't grow in it for a year and then even if there's some little bit of leaching, it's still better than buying stuff that's been sprayed with shit that we don't know what's been sprayed. It's like,
oh no,
it's
like so hard
because you can't be, this sort of perfect,
well,
that's
why we
can't do anything.
We went with Coro for that reason, just so we could, it wasn't timber, but we have used timber posts to keep it in. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
So we've got Coro, but we've that's sort of earmarked for other projects. Like that's sort of, we're looking at what's its highest function on our property.
Yeah.
And for us, it's, utilising that on
structures,
on roofing. And then we go, well, then we buy more Coro. And then, when I was at Kelly's place the other day at Pickle Patch, I was looking at her garden beds and I'm like, oh, like, are they like a birdie's bed? Like they look like a birdie's bed, but they didn't. And she said, no, that's all old bullnose veranda tops.
Verandas.
So her husband had cobbled a whole heap of those together and they looked great. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe we do that. And then it's the time factor as well, going, well, kind of don't have, a lot of time to be building out the projects, or maybe I'm just really impatient and think that I don't have the time. But, it's like, oh. So, we'll come up with a solution and, whatever solution we come up with will be the right one, right? Like once we're there and we're doing it, it's not going to matter.
Yeah. There's so many decisions to make when you start planning and trying to figure it all out. We're keeping a really close eye on our garlic at the moment because we're waiting for it to get to that point where we can harvest it. So that's exciting. But I'm looking forward to next year and how I'm going to plant my garlic because it was in the wrong spot. And same, like I don't just want to plant it in the ground because it's not going to get the best nutrients and the ground's so hard in some places. So we're looking at maybe just having 15 centimeter beds like really shallow ones that I can just start putting lots of nutrients in and manure and whatnot. But yeah, I'm the same with that. Like, do I use wood? Do we use like offcuts of thin bits of corro that we've trimmed off to make, because our beds are the right height, like we've got scrap bits. It's like, is that too finicky to like get all the scrap bits and make long, skinny,
that's it's that effort
beds
side of things as well too, which is something that, like, I know we talk about, we reuse and we recycle and we upcycle and things like that, but it is still a factor. Like, we all have busy lives, we all have other commitments, and we all want to achieve certain results. So we have to weigh up, how much effort and time and skill, like, do I have to be able to create what I think I want? And I say what I think I want because sometimes we get there and we're like, oh, that didn't really kind of come together what it looked like in my head.
Yeah. And the effort of like going through Marketplace and finding it all. Like, I found some great beds and then I realized they were, an hour away, and to hook up the trailer and take the kids there and back, it's a 2-hour trip. And I found ones that were a little bit closer and I was like, I'll come pick them up this weekend. And then she never got back to me, and then I saw that they'd been sold. So there's like the time factor in doing all of that too. And popping into our local tip, we do that whenever we can. But again, like, sometimes you're there and there's nothing, and if we've got the kids in tow, it's a bit of an effort. Or we come after the beach and we've forgotten our shoes, so you can't get out. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much that goes into it.
The tip shop here, like, we did have a load of waste, which I almost cried. Like, we're putting this waste into the big skip because it's going to landfill. But this is stuff that from still when we bought the place, we've been here 8 years, that these people left behind. Like, the shed was packed full of shit, like some great stuff. The things that I actually asked them to leave, like there was a rocking chair and there was some LED lights, and I'm like, leave that. They took that and they put that in landfill, and I was just like, seriously? And then they left a whole heap of rubbish. So we're still, like, basically what we do is we sort of do periodic clean outs of different sections, and then and like we've got stuff from, like, other people as well that, they've given us stuff, and, and some of the waste we've generated ourselves as well. Like, I need to own that. But, we kind of get to a point where we're like, all right, we have a trailer load, and we pick it through it so meticulously. Like, even when we were unloading it, I'm like, oh, no, I can use this. I can, like, there was a couple of containers without lids, and I'm like, no, I can still use that. And it's like, oh, I didn't think you wanted that. No, I can still use that. Oh, no, there's a metal pole. I can still use that. Like, or it could go to metal scrap. So we'll still, as we're going through that, still sorting out. And the people next to us are unloading, and I'm like, one eye on their trailer going, what have they got over there? But they
Nelson Bay, the Port Stephens one, I think they've still got a reuse centre.
Yeah, I want to go and have a look. I mean, that's still probably like about an hour away from us, 50 minutes away. But, if it's an excuse to go to Nelson Bay and I'm going to have a swim, well,
have a coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, who have we got today?
Yeah, so today I did a solo chat with Cristie Yager, who is a political candidate who got selected up here in our local election that we had. When were they, Jo? Back in October?
Several weeks ago now. Yep.
Yeah, maybe even earlier. So so I had a chat to her about politics, about why she decided to run. She talks about going from wanting to be totally off grid in the bush and then changing her mind and wanting to go into politics.
Like, that's a massive change, right? Like, that's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, and she's a homeschooling hippie with dreadlocks and tattoos, and she was like, you know what, I don't give a fuck whatever anybody thinks, I'm going to be me, I'm going to go for it, and she got elected.
How good is that?
Yeah, so she didn't run for mayor, she didn't want to, but she does have ambitions to kind of keep going on this political career, depending how obviously she goes and feels with her first kind of period in politics. But yeah, she's been a local for, I think, 5 generations, her family.
Wow.
She homeschools her kids. So yeah, she just wanted to be an example for other people that didn't fit the mold or aren't what you think typical politicians would look like. We talk about food security, homeschooling, just like the system in general. Just interesting person to chat to and a different perspective, and why we should maybe be a bit more politically aware, because that's something I can definitely put my hand up and say it's not a massive interest of mine. I kind of go, well, Labour, Liberal, whatever colour you are, you're all the same, so it doesn't matter. Like, you feel very disempowered by the political system. So, yeah, it's a good one to listen to if you kind of want to dip your toes in and start learning a bit more and have your eyes opened up to that a little bit. So, yeah, have a listen, see what you think.
I think it's fantastic because, and I'm looking forward to listening along too, because I've always had the mindset of, if you don't like the system, change it. Like, do something within your power to change it. And I'm also a complete hypocrite because I'm still bitch and moan about the system, but then don't do anything to change it, right? Like, I don't take those actions. So, I would like to do more, but I don't sometimes have the energy to be able to do that. But to see someone that's just gone, well, no, screw it. You know what? I need to step up. This is what I'm being called to do. And be able to do that and achieve that. Like, I just think that is empowering. Like, that's the politics of the people, right? Like, that is what it's all about, going, right, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do my absolute damnedest. It's not about,
Yeah, even the way she campaigned was different. Like, she didn't put up posters of herself everywhere and say, if I get elected, these are my goals and blah, blah, blah. She just told people about herself and her own values and what she believes in. And that's why people voted for her. And she was like the top vote by far, like when you looked at the breakdown of the numbers. So it was incredible to see.
That just shows that people want someone different. They want change. They want authenticity. They don't want to be, they don't want someone to piss in their pocket and tell them it's raining, right? Like, you don't want to be lied to or convinced of anything. You just want to align yourself with someone who has the same values and morals as what you do. Because you're like, well, if you have that, then I trust in the decisions that you're going to make. I may not agree with everything, but on a general scale, if we have the same values, then I trust in that. So, fantastic.
Well, I hope you enjoy. Have a listen, and we'll talk to you all next week. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Practical Permaculture podcast. This week, we have something a little bit different for you. We have Cristie Yager, who has just been elected as one of the candidates for my local council area. So welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Very excited, actually.
Most welcome. We just acknowledge where we're recording, the land we're recording on, before we get too far into it. So where are you?
I'm in Ulmarra on the floodplains, and it's Yager country here.
Yeah, and I'm just down the road, so I'm also in Yager country.
Oh.
So, to start with, do you want to tell us a bit about who you are and your context for anybody who doesn't already know who you are?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm Cristie. My family's grown up around Ulmarra, well, generations worth anyway. I decided to buy back here, about 8 years back now. Just feels like home. I love the soil. And like I said, the floods is a big part of why our soil is so incredible out here. When I was looking to buy, I always wanted somewhere that was going to be good for growing. That was one of my biggest things. I love plants, animals, learning, kids. I've got a whole bunch of kids. I don't really know how to describe myself. I just sort of do my thing and live my life. And I suppose the goal I've got really is just to be a weird little old grandma with some incredible memories and a life to look back on to say, I've lived, and shared. So that's sort of me, I guess.
Wow, that's lovely. And you homeschool your kids, don't you?
Yeah. So alternative lifestyle. I think that's what everyone keeps telling me I'm doing. I love the whole homesteading thing. I'm also think of it as a traditional lifestyle. I'm actually a sucker for primitive life, to be honest. I think everything we've got right now, clothes included, is a luxury. And I think the people who came before us were very so much more knowledge than we currently have. We've lost a lot over the last few generations, and I would love to sort of restore some of that and pass some of those old skills, you know, self-sufficiency, self-reliance, self-responsibility, you know, common sense, all those things. I would love to raise my kids and bring that to council, to be honest, you know, bring that into our local politics. That would be nice. It'd be a nice change anyway.
And I think the way that our modern society lives, we kind of have this missing link too between the elders passing knowledge down, or the crones, or, you know, the people who hold the wisdom passing that knowledge down, whether it's, you know, childbirth, or, you know, how to raise children, or how to eat and how to live. Like we really are, you know, probably in the last, you know, 30, 40 years, we've totally lost that link of how to pass that knowledge down to the next to people that come after us.
Oh, totally agree. And I love the nature of nature being a part of that cycle. And you're right, it does. It comes down to childbirth and trusting in our own bodies to get that job done, and our own mind and spirit, the whole lot. And nature has to be a part of that. And I love the way you just said that, because I get asked a lot why, you know, at the beginning of the year I was going off grid and had hopes of never seeing another face ever again. And now I'm sort of an elected member and I see faces all the time. So, and they go, how do you justify that? And I sort of go, well, politics is our modern way. That's where the decisions are made. And if there aren't people there that have those beliefs and those systems of everything being connected, and we need to get back, we need our kids to be sitting with our elders and learning and talking. And I've just come to the realization that pretty much politics, you know, you can't escape it as much as you want to. And I'd love to get people keen and understand that, everything really is connected. And that means the superficial things we've created as well, they are a part of our system. We did that, and we've got to sort of accept it and mush it all together so that it, you know, better outcomes.
Yeah, I think when I was messaging you leading up to this, I said to you, you know, I self-confessed I don't know a lot about politics. My husband's much more politically aware than I am. And I think growing up as a teenager, you know, we only had one politician. It was John Howard. So you didn't really have to worry about politics very much. But for me as well, like, they're all the same as well, so there's no real reason to get invested, you know, Labor, Liberal, it's all the same thing, just a different colour. Like, there's no real difference between our political parties, I think, in Australia. But after reading a book recently that Amanda Scott wrote called Any Human Power, and then this election kind of coincided with that, it's making me get more interested and wanting to learn more and understanding why it is so important to kind of get a bit more invested in politics and more aware of it.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And that's what I'm really sort of hoping to get. And I'm the same as you. John Howard, you know, Bob Hawke. You probably, Bob Hawke, we remember him. But
before my time.
Well, I think he was, I can't remember. Politics, it wasn't something that I always felt like I knew it was the place where decisions were made. That's, I think, the key of it. And I did grow up around a parent. Mum, she just doesn't care. She wanted to vote for me. She's not even in our electorate. So that's how much my mum knows. But my dad was always aware. He wanted to know, he wanted to be in the loop so that, you know, I don't know why, but he was very, he was far too wise and ahead of his time, that's for sure. And I really looked to him and sort of got to the point where, you know, I got older maybe, and it just begun to make sense to me that, we need to be involved or we won't change anything. And so many of us, myself included, have turned away going, it's so boring. It's all the same. It doesn't matter what we do or who we pick. We always get the same thing. So that's going to be a big driver for me to get people to go, hey, you know, look at this weirdo. I can do that and I can be involved. And that's the beauty of being elected, because there isn't, there's not actually a skill set required for that. That's where I think the appeal was. I mean, if you've got a good heart, you've got good intentions and you're community minded, Literally, that's it. And not a criminal. That's a bonus. So, yeah, and still some are quite questionable. Some of the people who are in politics today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see the next generation more involved. Yeah.
That was one of the things in this book that Amanda Scott talked about was, so there's like a hypothetical election in the UK essentially, and she said that they were trying to get all these underground people to sign up as candidates and get elected as independents. And one of the movements they were trying to push for was that all their politicians had to be drug and alcohol screened to be able to be in Parliament.
Wow.
And, you know, she said if we don't let our pilots, you know, have airplanes, or you know, our doctors do decision making, you know, have decision making when they're under the influence. So why are we allowing our politicians to be that way?
Yeah.
And her belief was that if we did that, how many people would it cut out of the system that would just be, well, sorry, you know, 3-strike system, you're out. The other one was transparency in spending and having like all the spending that happens be made publicly available so people can be held accountable for what they're spending. I can't remember the other one, but they were really interesting points that she made because, I think there are a lot of people in power that, you know, just do things maybe not the right way because they want it to get done quicker. And I don't know if that's the system or the people as well, like a mix of both, that the system's almost forcing them to do that. Yeah, because, you know, change can be really slow, and the way our system's set up and the cycles of how quick we go through politicians as well, that, you know, policies change so quickly, all kinds of things. So
that's it.
It's
and
very
then
interesting.
Someone else comes in and changes and scraps something else. Yeah. No, I think you're right, though. There is a mix between sort of unsavory people and motivations that kind of, you know, if the majority of us do not look at what the government's doing, where they spend our money, you know, they're funded by us. I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think sometimes the system is built for them to run rampant without supervision. Because if we sort of turn away, that's it. And so even for me, there are a multitude of reasons, and I've learned even more reasons why I should have and have run over that time. But if no one's looking at that, and then we go to the groceries, you know, go to do a shop and we can't afford food, we go, you know, why? Why are our rates going up? Why is this going up? Why is that going up? Everything's so expensive. But it's kind of, you know, our responsibility to make sure that the right people are in the right spots. And we've not done that for so long.
Yeah.
It's time to sort of, Yeah.
And I think I love the fact that we talk about how you campaigned, I guess, a bit later, but I love the way that you are so transparent online, is that someone like me who could be like, oh, I homeschool. Oh, I enjoy these things. I have similar values. Like, and it plants that seed of, well, why don't I run? Or, you know, seeing yourself represented a little bit more, or someone that's more like you or more aligned with you and your values. I think it's really inspirational for those who come after you, because they may have never thought there was a place for them in that world.
And that's a little bit sad, because we only get one crack at this. You know, we're not here forever, and we are literally all just individual humans, and I don't think there's anything that places anyone on a level that's different to someone else. I mean, at the end of the day, we all have had this really random chance to be born. We live and we make decisions every day, and then we die. We all are doing that exact same thing, no matter how we decide to decorate ourselves or our house or our garden or the education we choose to follow, whatever. We literally, that's sort of, I'm glad you said that, because that's what I'm sort of hoping. I do want anyone to stand up and go, well, why can't I do that? You know, what is stopping anyone, really? Same with having a garden. Just saying.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Why can't you?
Was there a particular point from like wanting to be off grid and being a hermit and not seeing anybody? Was there like a moment that you can pinpoint that you were like, maybe I should do this instead?
Oh, look, I always thought I would end up getting into politics, but I thought I'd do it, when I was old. I don't know why. I just thought maybe once because my main goal, I think, like most people, is to, pay your bills, have a decent life, make sure your kids are okay. And I sort of just went, well, I've still got, at least 40 years in me, I hope. And if I wait that long, or even if I wait another 20 years, I just think that, we're on a slope. The scale of things globally, not just, locally, the whole lot we're on a bit of a slide, I think. And I just looked to the leaders that we had, and I didn't see anyone that I wanted my kids to be led by. There was no leadership that had their best interests at heart. And I worry that, things can get bad. Things can get worse. And I just, there was no one there that I saw that I wanted myself to look to for guidance or support or to make me feel okay when times got tough. So I wanted to show my kids and other people who are in sort of the same boat that someone's here. I'm happy to have a chat, and we can get through things, but we really need to actually genuinely care about each other and our environment.
And I love the way that you campaigned. Can you kind of explain that a little bit, or what your thinking was behind it?
About what, sorry?
About how you ran and how you put your name out there and campaigned.
Yeah. Well, everyone keeps calling it a campaign, and that's what I actually find really interesting. No, I love it because honestly, really all I did was just do what I do. And so to me, it sounds funny when people say I ran a good campaign, because I'm going, I've been doing that since, I was a kid now. But all I really did was basically just state I'm going to be a candidate in the upcoming election. And then I just went about my life and went about my day and shared it. So that was really how I campaigned. I realized that I needed to learn more about politics, local government specifically. So I did a lot of reading. I went to council meetings just so I could see and get to know who our leaders were. And they're just literal normal people, like, no glamour in that at all. They're just people. And then I knew I had to raise my profile, which in the beginning I didn't know what that was. But basically just people needed to know that I existed and that I was going to run. So I spent maybe a few weeks going to different events and saying, hey, I'm Cristie, I'm a candidate for the election. I got sick of that really quickly. It's just awkward. And it's just not my normal thing to go places and say, hey, I'm here, But sort of word spread, which was really nice. I loved that it was very grassroots, because I think that's what it should be. I didn't want to come out, some people knew they were going to run for that entire same period, but they kept it under wraps kind of thing. And then, 4 weeks out, they go, bam, here I am. Here's some call flutes, here's some flyers. And you're just so bombarded that you just go, back, you back away from it. So I knew that, and I knew, I got dreads, I got tattoos, pierced nose, female. Sadly, we're still very underrepresented in politics. So that was also a downer.
How
so I
dare
knew I
you?
was going to have, I know, how dare I be a girl? And heaps of kids, all the rest. But I knew I had to basically just let people get numb to me, really. I mean, you run into someone in the street with dreads and tattoos and you go, whoa, that's your natural reaction. And that's human nature. You give it a conversation or even two and they go, oh, yeah, whatever, tattoo, don't care. And that's sort of where I was coming from. I just needed people to give me a chance, listen to me speak, see what I'm about. And I knew that 4 weeks wasn't enough for that. We're a very conservative region. So, anyway.
I did not see one core flute sign the entire time I drove around with your face on it at all. And I just thought it was cool.
So great.
But I thought it was cool, like, for like an environmental perspective, having all those horrible plastic things everywhere, but also, like, I just heard about you. Actually, the way I heard about you was when we first moved here. I think I messaged you because you were in a gardening group, and that's how I first heard about you. And then I saw your name somehow links to the election, and I was like, pretty sure it's the chick I messaged like months ago when I first moved here. And I was like, I can't believe she's running. And I was so excited. And I actually got really emotional when I found out that you were a candidate and that you got, that you're a councillor. I was really excited with our family. And I was like, the chick I voted for got in. And she was. I didn't think that someone would. I was just, I was so stoked for you and so stoked that people were open to something different and change, and that it wasn't business as usual, because I think that's where things really get messed up when we just kind of toe the line and it's business as usual and we keep kind of going down the path we're on. And I was like, I love this. This is so amazing that, it's happened, and I was stoked.
It's so great. I'm getting that reaction from a lot of people, which, you walk around, you live your life, you don't really think about, how people are receiving you. And, to have so many people just they were still so excited. They're watching the count, the numbers on the night and going, oh, my God. And I didn't have to look at it once. I had so many messages and phone calls telling me where, the numbers were. So it was really great. And people who just have never cared before. So that was so good. So good.
Yeah.
Half of them will probably run next time and kick me out. So it'll be great.
And you know what? When I say someone that's, not toe the line, it's not because of your tattoos and your hair and what you look like. It's because I went, oh, you know what? There's a mother running who homeschools, who believes in the environment, who wants, that permaculture aspect of me coming out. It had nothing to do with appearances. You could totally fit the bill appearance-wise. It was more your values that I was like, wow, there's somebody that's just kind of pushing back a little bit, and that's what made me excited more than anything. But so tell us a bit about what your values are and what your plans are for your now position.
Well, you sort of touched on it, actually, that pushing back. It seems like the government's just pushing and pushing, everything's just growth, pump business, pump this. It's all just money. And I'm a little bit tired of that. Where is our, we've got no wholesome values anymore. Our community spirit, that is really sad. And it shouldn't just be disasters, floods and fires and, pandemics that bring us to a point where we need to reach out. I think we've got that nature in us where we want to connect with people all the time, but we're just so, it's like we live in all our own little bubbles and no one wants to touch anyone else's bubble unless it's an actual disaster. And I think we've got the capacity to be, together more for our kids even. Social media has done nothing but separate us. Used wisely, it's great. But we take advantage of the fact that we can see our neighbour down the road every 5 minutes and we don't ever physically ever go see them. I do that. Yeah. But what I want to sort of achieve is I want to bring back sort of the idea, I suppose, of role models for our kids. We do have a lot of youth crime. We have a lot of problems, but I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I think it's a disconnection. Our kids don't feel like they belong in our streets and in our trees and in our parks. They're always looked at like they're naughty or misbehaving or doing something wrong. And I think growing up in an environment where everyone's sort of looking at you like that, it's not necessarily shaping the new citizens of our community. It's pushing them down a track that we don't want them to go down. I'd love families. I would love for our community halls and our parks, movie nights, barbecues, bring a plate, and none of that necessarily costs money. I mean, council wants their fees to use their facilities, but surely we can, pull a few strings there and go, hey, we're having a community in the little places too, not just, the big spots like Grafton or just McLean, or the little villages are really good at coming together themselves. But there are some blank spots where families do feel sort of left out. Kids feel left out. Our elderly is always left out. Yeah, get those kids and grandparents together, and I don't know. We need some more family and connection.
Yeah, I spent about 10 years in early childhood teaching and running a small long daycare centre, and pretty much every time we had a kid that had behavioural problems or was labelled naughty, we'd reframe that and be like, well, no, they're not naughty, they're seeking attention, they're seeking connection. They're not being naughty because they want to be naughty. They're being naughty because they want to be noticed. They want connection. And I think so much of that stems back to, either parents being unavailable, the community being unavailable, like you said, not having those mentors around, not having that support, and not having that positive connection. And so they seek it in a negative way because we all know that's going to get a quicker reaction than them doing something good.
Yeah. That's it. And then when they do, it's usually unnoticed, and that's what's kind of sad, really. But and look, community gardens, we need to go old school. We need some good morals, values, manners. Let's all say hello to each other in the street. The amount of people who look at me weird when I just smile and say, hey, they're like, well, I don't know you. I was like, well, what if you said hi? But we've lost a lot of I don't know. Look, if I could take us back 2 decades, I probably would. Not that it was hard times, but people were, they worked hard. They cared about the quality of their work. They cared about the quality of their family, the strength of their family. They looked after their elderly and their young. I think there's a lot of different circumstances that have taken us down some weird tracks, and I don't think we should keep pushing those limits. We think about life and time as if it's a line or like there's a goal in the end, but really all we have is, day after day, sun keeps coming up. We don't have a choice about that, but I think we can be happier, and I don't think it takes, huge, big profitable businesses or big pricey, extravagant things that the council and government keeps building and going, here you go, say thank you. All we really want is decent roads, our rubbish picked up, stop charging us through the roof. We're pretty basic creatures, really, and we actually all want to be left to our own devices mostly. But we'll see.
Is there anything big that you're wanting to do while you're
well, I'll say want, because want we don't always get, but I would actually love to for us to invest into childcare early. Early childhood education would be amazing. We have a lot of private places and a lot of waiting lists, and those waiting lists are usually for prioritized kids with working parents and things like that, but we have kids with disabilities, kids with different needs, like non-English backgrounds, and they all sort of go through the cracks. A lot of First Nations kids too. We need to really, it seems like the government keeps catering for the people who are on top already, whereas we've got a growing bottom, if you want to put it in levels, and the people who need it the most aren't sort of being catered for, in my opinion. So, I'll root for us underdogs. you know, and that's where I think, and kids, I'm starting with kids because I'm looking long term, 20 years down the track.
Yeah.
A kid with a really good, solid, nature-based, child-led education who's shown the beauty of the environment and each other. In 20 years' time, that's a decent human. That's a pretty decent human that feels valued and connected and a part of the community. They'll build and they'll run for council, and yeah. So I really look at the long-term picture. Short-term, everyone just wants their roads fixed, to be honest. That's all I hear all the time. So short-term and long-term goals.
After the rain the last couple of days, I saw on a Facebook thread there's this massive pothole in Maclean after the rain, and someone's like, we should start a class action. Someone's going to get injured. I was like, oh, God, that's all anybody complains about around here is potholes in the roads.
I know. And look, that's what we pay for rates for. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't blame them for that. But, oh, look, I don't know anywhere in Australia that doesn't have potholes or any council that has solved the pothole crisis. And as much as I do, I value those opinions and those thoughts, and it matters, I kind of want to look bigger than that. How can we get our community back on track and grow and be happy and vibrant? Like, it'd be nice if everyone was so happy that they're just like, oh, a pothole, I might just ring that into the council and hopefully they'll come and fix it up. And a bit more, not the be all and end all and life's over because there is a pothole. It sucks, yes, and it's probably, could do damage to your car, I understand, but drive slowly to the conditions. You might want to edit that out because I'll get in trouble for that.
It's bloody raining. Like, what are they going to do in the rain? They can't get out there while it's raining and it's crazy wind and fix it. Like, you need to give them a day or two to get there. Like, I'm sure they know it's there.
Yeah.
And I think also that council has their hands tied a little bit too to kind of defend them. Like, coming from a bigger town, there was an intersection here where they've repaired it 4 times in the last 6 months that we've lived here. And my husband's like, they just don't have the engineers here that do that job. Like, they don't need council workers to do that. We should probably be paying a private company to come and fix that part of the road, because obviously it's failed to the point where we don't have the skills to fix it. But sometimes council's hands are tied and they can't do that. So it's kind of a catch-22 for council too, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And see, councillors are the ones that cop the verbal abuse over it, but they're not actually the ones that go out and fix those. That's sort of the staff that does that. So that's kind of hard too when you go to pay for fuel and they're on you straight away. Get the rolls out the, which that's great because I've copped that before I was even elected. So that's been fun. I've learned a lot there. You're right. We need the quality in what's being constructed, and to it all comes down to funding. It's hard, and that's where the focus is too. I think council needs to, and all levels of government needs to prioritise. Do we need a big fancy dog park, or do the people just want a decent road? It's hard.
Or like you said, there's certain people at the top who probably don't need the handout so much and they're making a lot of money. Maybe the developers with all the heavy vehicles going up and down our streets should be chipping into a road fund. Can we change the system a little bit so that maybe, like you said, it's more equitable for the people that don't have it and can't access those things, and make the people who do have the financial means chip in a little bit.
I think that's a good idea, and I think some do. I'm not sure about that, and I think some of it goes through state level too. But
and that's
the
problem too. There's probably lots of people being like, "That's your It's like that's not even a local government problem.
Yeah, I know. I've copped that a lot too. Like I'm like, we've got to fix the education and do the environment, and they're like, oh, you can't do that as a little lowly, councillor. And it's like, well, I can try. Just bug the people. Why can't we bug the people that can do that? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
But the fairness though, that's the hard part, because the people up the top, they get their rates bill and they go, oh yes, whatever. They go, oh, it's a bit pricey, but they can just pay it. Whereas you know, that extra $50 on someone who can't afford it, that's pushing a lot of people over the edge. And even just mentally and emotionally, you know, you've got a big bill sitting in front of you, that's just stresses you out. So yeah, the fairness, you know, and then different regions, we keep getting chopped into lower and upper river, which that's, you know, we've got to stop that. I think we're all literally in the one LGA. It's huge, but we are one. But yeah, it is hard for littler places to, and I'm actually on their side when they go, it's not fair because, you know, all the finances are sucked, you know, elsewhere. But being so huge everywhere, someone at some point is going to say, hey, what about me? It's not fair. So that's tricky, but yeah.
And you've got needs of farmers versus people who are living in towns. Like their needs are going to be so different compared to, you know, what they're after and what they're seeking. So you're never going to please everybody. And I guess just one of those things, juggling all the money and allocating it to what's, you know, most needed and most beneficial. And
I'd spend it all on a big, you know, farmers market, food, you know, growth, like, honestly, food security is a big thing for me. You know, you probably remember back when lettuce was, you know, what was it, $12 there at one point? And and I felt like sort of saying to some people, it's like, hey, look, lettuce doesn't take long to grow, you know. Let's get you a couple of bucks worth of seeds and see what happens. You know, start with the basics and teach people. You know, we need those skills.
So I went to the IGA here in Maclean, and I said to my husband, "Take a stab in the dark. Like, what do you think a big drum of oil is worth?" And he's like, "I don't know, $30," because he doesn't do the groceries.
No,
like,
mine either.
$65 for a big can of oil. I was like, it's expensive. Like, we were only paying probably $35, $40 for a big oil a couple of years ago. Like, how does that doubled in price in such a short amount of time?
Oh, I find it dodgy. I find it really dodgy. And there's been some inquiries lately, which is, you know, not really that surprising. But Aaron's the same. He doesn't do the groceries. So I think he gets sick of me going, oh, look at how expensive this is. But milk powder, I'll just say, because I like to have it in the cupboard, you know, been through a few floods. It's just great. I hate putting a pile of kids in the car just to go get milk. But anyway, $2 for just the home brand, the Coles brand. I used to get it for $1.99 a kilo. Now it's $10. That's a huge jump. That is huge. And, you know, I think it's the part I think is dodgy is that it's all those under the radar items that you don't usually buy that sort of have gone up. You know, we see the milk, the fresh milk going up and up and up, but it only goes up tiny bits. But I hadn't bought the powdered milk for, a couple of years. So from $1.99 to $10 flat, I just went, wow, that's massive. But I don't think it's something that everyone has in their everyday grocery shop. So I thought, I wonder if they've, you know, just got a few things they've just bumped up because we're going to need them eventually. So they're sort of getting in now before we're all so desperate and clamoring for all the last bits and pieces. But it's insane.
Yeah, food security is a massive thing for us. You know, we thought moving into the Northern Rivers we'd have an abundance of all this produce around us. And I mean, we've got lots of people that sell eggs locally from their backyard and a few people obviously from Byron that supply the area. But, you know, you're having to go to the butcher and little places to buy it. So Yamba, Coles and Maclean IGA have been out of eggs now for 5 weeks.
You're kidding.
No joke. And I asked the supervisor when are the eggs coming in? And she said, we have no idea. We can't get stock. Coles gets them once a week and you'll have a restock, but then people are just buying them really, really quickly. And they and you get there and there's only broken ones left or there's none. But it's been 5 weeks now at the local IGA that we can't get eggs. I mean, we've bought eggs because we know local people that have them and there's a couple local farmers that kind of do a decent amount, but they sell them at, you know, the bakery and random spots that you kind of have to know to go there specifically. That just blew my mind.
Yeah, that blows my mind too. Those smaller, more independent places. See, this worries me. I actually, it's been worrying me for a long time. I like my conspiracy theories, but it's sort of coming true. I used to complain that, do you remember Black and Gold and Literal Home Brand?
Yeah.
Like, where did they go?
They don't
Coles brand,
exist.
yeah. Coles brand started, and then Coles has now got, they've got Coles, then they've got Coles Select, which is the fancier Coles, and they're so much cheaper than everything else on the shelf, including Australian grown and packaged products. So you're not going to want to buy a $7 can of peaches when you can get the exact same amount for $2. And that
really
really
frustrates
is
me.
so sad. It frustrates me too, because I've got a big family, so I really have to be super tight with the money I spend. And every time I buy something that is not Australian owned and grown here, it just kills me. But my groceries would be 5 times the cost. I suppose that's my fault. I had so many kids, but I just see this track we're going down, and Coles and Woolies are already the 2 biggest. We need more options, and we need it to be Australian. I mean, there was contamination with durian fruit, the big weird spiky ones. That came out of Thailand. And then they've gone, oh, no, it wasn't contaminated in Thailand. We don't know where it came from. It came from another. And I'm going, well, we don't even actually know where our food comes from that we are buying cheap. That worries me. Hence the veggie garden.
And even co-ops, like, where did co-ops go? Like, why have they disappeared? Why can't we support them and have people who do have backyard eggs, or who can, give extra milk or food or whatever it is, produce, and have a co-op that's open 3 days a week that gets manned?
That would be amazing.
We have lots of growers that probably have abundance of food, and you hear so many stories of big farms that are just throwing things into landfill, or having to get rid of it because, Woolies, Coles, the big brands aren't taking their produce.
And they're not getting good prices. I think it'd be amazing.
Either. That's the other thing. My granddad's a butcher, and he said, they offered him years ago to go on the shelves, and he was like, I just couldn't do it because the prices they were offering me were just so small that it wouldn't have even made a difference to us. Like, we would have just been making it for the same price that it would cost us to sell it to them.
I know. And that's the really sad thing. These people work pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we can't support our farmers. And everything's just so overregulated. Even to sell someone some fresh eggs from the backyard, you've got to be sneaky about it. You've got to have egg dealers. Egg dealers and veggie dealers, because everything, you can't make sourdough and sell it at the market without a, little sticker and a label and this and that. It's just, I'm probably saying way too much. I'll probably get in trouble by somebody eventually if they happen to hear this. No, I'm not kidding. But, we need to talk about it, because that's the track we're on. Everything, bees. Can't have a beehive in the backyard if you're not registered. You can't soon. I mean, there's talk about chickens, backyard chickens being registered.
I saw that.
I don't want to register my chickens. I just want to go and get some eggs.
The price to then register your eggs or register your chickens, it's then counterintuitive to sell it or even set yourself up to provide for your own family, because it's costing you money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, roadside stalls, they're one of my favorite things. Kids and I will jump in the car sometimes and take a whole bunch of shrapnel and go, cool, let's go, hit all the local ones. It takes you, it's a good drive. You want to make sure you've got some fuel, but it's fun, and everything's fresh and everything's nice, and that those families are getting that cash for their hard work. And growing it yourself, how hard it is. Look, I feel for farmers. Milk, oh God, dairies. No one is getting rich off farming. I think it used to be a nice family lifestyle where the grandparents, the parents, and then the kids, I mean, it was intergenerational. Now you've got, you know, fifth and sixth generation farmers having to sell up and go because they just can't even support their own families. And then, you know, foreign investors are coming in and putting in blueberries or raspberries, and then there's chemicals going straight into our waterways. And yeah, look, it's sad times if we're going to have to register backyard chickens and can't give our neighbours, you know, some homemade bread.
Produce,
you know, that's too much.
It's crazy. We've got a little stall down the road and the doors have been closed for ages, and I popped up on our local Gulmer ad, you know, why is it closed? Like, I haven't seen them open, and I think she's closed. And I loved it. Like, we'd pop down there all the time and grab eggs, and she has honey there and the stuff that she grows. And it was the long weekend and the shops were closed, so I just popped down to her little thing and got some eggs, and then went to the servo, grabbed my milk and came home, and that's what we needed for the weekend, and it was great. But yeah, she's closed. I don't know why, but she's been doing it a long time, I think. Yeah.
I know. I've noticed that closed a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
I actually saw the other day another one was closed for stealing. I was like, wow, that's also sad. But I mean, there are so many people out there at the moment who just need food. Not that that's, you know, it's not an excuse, but, you know, leave a note or something, you know.
Yeah, but that's where our co-ops could also come into it, you know, if there's things that are in the co-op and it's not, you know, the shelf life's really diminished, it's been there for a few days, you can have a take what you need section too. And and I think if people know it's there,
I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
And I think if people know it's there all the time and available, it takes away that temptation to steal or take more than what you need, because you're like, you know what, it's going to be there next week. It's not a big deal. There's not this kind of deficiency mindset or, you know, lacking mindset that causes scarcity and people to be scared and worried and
Wow. I hope we can make things work and change. And I love it. Conversations like this is part of that process, I think. So people sort of, you know, change perspectives, and it would be great, wouldn't it, to have like I've always talked about like a marketplace that's open, you know, 5 days a week, not, you know, 9 to 5 or 9 to crazy hours, but just that constant and reliable. I mean, it's great to go to the farmer's market, but if you need something in between, you are just it's just so easy to go to Coles or Woolies or just pop in, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's So
if others were listening to this and thinking, oh yeah, I could do that, I could put my hat in the ring, what would you tell them? Like, what advice would you give those people?
Oh, I absolutely hate to say it, but I'm going to give the advice that I was given, and have thick skin. And it really pains me to say that, because you actually, look, there's been so much negativity, but I try to come at it from a level of understanding. People are so unhappy with our government, and they don't know where to direct that. They have no idea how to channel that or you know, get that frustration out. They just know that things aren't going well. They don't know how to change it. But someone says, hey, I'm going to become a politician, or I am a politician locally, and that's easy access. That's okay, bam, I'm going to tell you every problem that I've ever had with every politician I've ever known, you know, or to, you know. So I think thick skin, and that might not, and then, you know, the politics part, they're the other people who are politicians. It's very strategic and tactical, and I don't like that. I don't think it should be like that, which is why I've been so open and honest, and trying to be very upfront with people. I want them to see that there is a different way. It doesn't have to be all deals and handshakes and back scratches, you know. It can be just out in the open. Hey, this is what I think. What do you think? It's not hard. So in that relation, it's just more so just understanding people are not always going to be nice to you at all. That said, I think it's, well, so far I haven't even got into the, literal role of counsellor yet, but probably the best thing I've ever done. I have met the most incredible people, and people have come to me too that care about things that are bigger than themselves. And I think really that has been the best part, to know that I'm not alone and there are people who really, really genuinely care and want change. And if they can't do what I'm doing, then I can listen to them. So I'm stoked that they've decided that, I could be talked to, which is nice. Look, I'd say probably being aware. That would be my number one thing now that I've blabbed and said all that. Knowing what you're getting into. Just being prepared, and letting some things slide. But I really don't think there's no skill set. You just got to really care. I think that's number one. Yeah. But go for it. 100% go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when I messaged...
Yeah.
I think when I messaged you about it, I think one of my comments was, I hope you're okay. Because I was like, I could not imagine the mental stamina it must take and how much I'd need to bite my tongue around certain people because it would be hard. It would be really, really hard.
That's probably the biggest thing. A lot of people say, I can't do it because I would punch somebody. That's pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
on the flip side, someone who hasn't run, but I'm in your local area, what's the most productive way to get a hold of a counsellor or to try and create change on an individual level, do you think?
Individual level. Well, I hate to say it, but there's a strategic plan, it's called, and I think it's actually still open until they've prolonged the exhibition period until the 17th. So I hate to even say it, but the best way to actually contact a counsellor would be, message me personally through Facebook, or once I'm elected officially, I'll probably put out my phone number and we get an email address. So if you want to talk to an individual counsellor of your choice, you can probably just go through those channels, which will all be listed on the council website. But look, I'm actually giving you advice that I wouldn't listen to, but the proper way is to go through the strategic plan and put in a submission, as boring as that sounds. See, this is the part that nobody wants to do. So those submissions that the community give go into a 10-year plan, which is silly. Things change. And then a 4-year plan, which is a part of the term that I'll be in. And then it gets broken down into a 1-year plan. And that's the steps that will be taken. But there are things that can be done.
I didn't even know that. So that's good to know.
Well, it is, but I think it's actually unrealistic. Not that I can change it, but I mean, anything you say to me today that you would like to see implemented in the community, you might think that's the worst idea you've ever had in 10 years, And two, there is such a lack of community engagement. That 10 years is based on a very tiny portion of our community, the very small people amount that say, hey, I care enough to make a submission. And I don't really think that's actually a realistic way of doing things anymore. Things need to change, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for your time today. It's been so nice chatting to you and hearing about your journey.
Well, thanks for listening to me, I suppose. And it's been fun. I would love to do this again sometime.
Yeah, maybe for sure. And the reason why I think I wanted you on is because I've come from permaculture, from a very gardening background. Like, I wanted to learn how to grow better food. So I learned about permaculture, and that's kind of how I got into it, and then realized it's all these other things. It's people care and earth care, and it's politics and ethics and all these different things. And so I'm on a mission to kind of upskill in the people care and like connecting with community, because that's something that I haven't really done a lot in the past, and I'm trying to kind of find a tribe up here and make more community connections and kind of become more involved in that. But I also realized that, politically I'm very unaware, and so I selfishly wanted to interview you for that reason. But also I think if I feel that way, then there's a lot of other people that also feel that way, and I think the more we kind of demystify it and unpack it and talk about it, it can only lead to better things and more connection between people and education.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I love it. Well, that's the thing, I think, and to permaculture, you can go right back to that with politics. I mean, I love permaculture because, one day you can feel like a little carrot under the ground, struggling because there's this beautiful canopy above you. And the next day you feel like you are that strong canopy, but each is both essential. They're all a part of the system and it all works together. So, and you're right. Yeah. The people come into it. The earth comes into it. I think the time has come for us to go, all right, we are a part of the system. We do not own the system. We are not, we've created all these strange systems like the government and the economy and inflation and all the rest. They're all very invisible things that we've made. And I think, there's a big shift, even globally. People are going, we want to get back to basics. And it's hard because I don't think people know what the basics are. So, and you got to see it and hear it and feel it to go, wow, okay, that's my happy place. I get it now.
Yeah.
Garden, obviously, permaculture for you is that way of putting all those things into a system that works for you, that makes sense.
Maybe we should just have a gardening chat one day instead of a political chat.
Yeah, sorry. I do love my garden more than politics, but both are essential. Both are important.
Well, again, thank you for your time. I'll put the link to your Facebook in the show notes, and any other links that we can give to people we'll put in there as well. I might even try and push this episode forward so we can get people who might want to add to that. What did you call it? The submission thingy?
Yes, the submissions for the strategic plan.
Excellent.
Boring.
We will put a link to that in there as well. Just in case people might not know about that as well, because that's something I wasn't really aware of. Yeah. Perfect. So thank you for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was great.
My pleasure. All right. Bye.
Bye. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Practical Permaculture podcast. Jump onto our Facebook group to keep the chat going and to look for any resources that we mentioned on today's show. Look in the show notes.
And if you liked the episode today, then subscribe. Please give us a review and share. And if you didn't, then that's okay. We'll sure you'll find the right podcast for you.
Bye.
Bye.